And away we go. So as always, let's just see what me and the lads have sent in our group chat and see what we think of whatever's going on in our pipelines on social media. And there is none. There's nothing new that's been sent since the last time I recorded a podcast. So, with that being said, let's jump right into the news. Meghan Markle tells Australian students she was the most trolled person in the world. On Thursday, the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle, discussed her decade of online abuse at Melbourne's Swinburne University, describing herself as the most trolled person in the entire world for 10 years. Founded in 2011, Batyr is a preventative mental health organization delivering peer-to-peer programs and uses lived experience storytelling to spark conversations around mental health. To address Australia's youth mental health crisis, Prince Harry praised Australia's epic leadership on the under-16 social media ban, noting the platforms have led to so much loneliness for so many people. The Duke told young advocates that therapy became essential for his mental health. Beyond the Batyr event, the Successes are undertaking private meetings and special projects during their 4-day Australian tour, with Meghan filming a guest appearance on MasterChef Australia on Wednesday. The couple's visit has received a mixed reception, with a protest petition against public funding for policing costs signed by more than 45,000 people, while Britain's King Charles remains head of state in Australia. So firstly, great to see that there is discussions regarding mental health. I don't care too much about whoever the person is that's leading the conversation, so long as there's open discussions like at this Australian university about mental health. I'll give credits to the Successes for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex for that. I will say, in terms of being the most trolled person in the entire world, not going to say that there isn't anyone out against Meghan Markle, nor Meghan shouldn't be open to say that her years in the spotlight whilst Harry was still a working member of the royal family has been devastating. I believe Meghan should be allowed to be open about her experience, regardless. Even if people don't agree with what she has to say or what she has done, she should be able she should be allowed to talk about her experiences, about what it was like in the royal family, the treatment she's got, and the workings of the royal family during her time when Harry was still a working royal. And now to the point I'm wanting to make. I can think of at least 5 people, minimum 5 people, that probably gets trolled a lot more than Meghan Markle. Again, not to say that Meghan Markle didn't have it bad in terms of the attention she got the moment she and Harry started dating. All I'm saying is there are people that are getting trolled on a lot more often, and actually a lot more harshly than Meghan Markle. The reason, in my opinion, people would say Meghan Markle being trolled on more harshly is because, well, she is in a relationship with a member or a member of the royal family, or at least someone that used to be a working member of the royal family in the UK. And with so much attention, of course, there's going to be negativity on Meghan Markle and Harry. That's understandable. And I don't wish any of that stuff on my worst enemies. Even I don't like them. I still don't want my enemies to go through what the Duchess and the Duke of Sussex have been going through ever since they started dating. Nonetheless, yes, Meghan Markle has had it bad and had it worse during her time and whilst being in a relationship with Harry and having children together. Good for them on having children. I know that there are likely people some people, at least some people in this world, that do get trolled a lot more often, and again, more harshly than Meghan Markle, regardless of how much press, publicity, and how many people know who these people are that gets trolled on more frequently than people make it out to be. That's just my take on the statement, trolled person in the entire world. Of course, again, I've said this many times, and I can't stress this enough. Meghan has had it bad. She really does. Then again, there are other people in this world that also get trolled. Sometimes a lot more often than people make it out to be. And maybe, to some extent, maybe more harshly. And that could have get that people that do that kind of trolling would likely get away with that a lot more often because there isn't much press on said individuals, nor people would know who these people are. That's just me. So to end my conclusions on this story, well, despite the roller coaster that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have been going on since they started dating and then had children together, there is no doubt there have been troubles. There have been rough patches and challenges as well. All I will say is that I hope they stay safe. That is it. All I ask is for their safety, no matter where they are in the world. People don't have to agree with what they say and what they're doing. I believe there is a line to be drawn somewhere. Even if you don't agree with their lifestyle and the opportunities they've been getting, I would still say there is a line that has to be drawn in regards to how we vent out and express our opinions on said notable individuals. PepsiCo tops quarterly revenue estimates as price cuts drive demand. On Thursday, PepsiCo Inc. reported first quarter net income of $2.33 billion, with revenue jumping 8.5%, $19.44 billion, surpassing Wall Street expectations. Price reductions of up to 15% on Lay's, Tostitos, Doritos, and Cheetos helped the combined Frito-Lay and Quaker Oats division log 2% volume growth after a 1% decline last quarter. New products like Cheetos, NKD, and Smart Food Fiber Pop are attracting shoppers. At a Michigan Walmart on Thursday, a 9.25 bag of Doritos was advertising a price rollback to $3.97, down from $4.48. PepsiCo kept its full-year targets unchanged, expecting organic revenue to grow 2% to 4% and earnings per share to rise 4% to 6%. The company's hedging strategy, covering 9 to 12 months, should protect against short-term cost increases. CFO Steve Schmidt noted that the global outlook remains uncertain due to geopolitical conflicts. The company intends to broaden Gatorade's appeal by rolling out a reduced sugar formulation and phasing out artificial colors from the product line. Well, it's about freaking time. I've in the past, in many episodes, I have no, without a doubt, I have been harsh and went big time on food standards and regulation of food in the United States. Whilst it's great to see that companies are making an effort to reduce the sugar that's in the foods and drinks and phasing out artificial colors, it's ridiculous that now is the moment that there is not at least a company, not saying they'll actually do it, a company that will say, we're going to try and to rewrite the formula to ensure that there isn't much sugar or artificial colors in the foods that we sell. Again, not saying they'll actually commit to it. They could change their minds at the last minute. It is a start, and whatever negativity that goes on in the world, at least there is something positive coming out from this story. We'll just have to wait and see to see what happens next for PepsiCo in the next few months, or in the next few quarters. Nonetheless, great to see PepsiCo is, well, more than just doing well financially, they're also making an effort to change the formula so it's not as unhealthy as other foods in the United States. I still have my doubts if they're actually going to commit to it. It's something. A win is a win. I'll take it. I'll take that. UK Financial Watchdogs to consult on proposed crypto regulation. Britain's financial regulator said on Wednesday it was consulting on how firms might be affected by the regulation of the crypto industry, which is due to come into effect by October 2027. Under the consultation, the Financial Conduct Authority, FCA, is seeking feedback on proposed regulations on a range of crypto activities, including operating crypto trading platforms, as well as dealing, staking, and safeguarding crypto assets, the regulator said. And that's it. That's the story. That wasn't much else to it. That's literally that's literally what the entire headline entails. And nonetheless, I'm certain many episodes ago that whether people like it or not, governments around the world are going to make a push to figure out what policies and legislature is to be drafted up and be passed in Parliament or deputy chambers to set a standard in regards to how people move about digital assets and crypto and digital currency, as well as how people will be taxed on said digital assets and cryptocurrency. And this story is no different. The UK, as not always, but most of the time, is always on the heels in regards to new set of legislation and laws, which, although not many people are aware of or even use right now, in the next few years, usage of cryptocurrencies will see a gradual and then eventually a steep rise of digital assets and cryptocurrency usage. And no doubt, governments around the world are going to find solutions and other methods of not just how to establish new laws and legislations and policies, they're also going to figure out what people can do with their digital assets and cryptocurrency. Which platforms can they move about back and forth from? And even, to some extent, the tax rates in which the value of said digital asset and cryptocurrencies will the everyday UK citizen will be taxed on. And then whatever money comes out of that, how much of a share in the UK's government budget will that said tax on crypto and digital assets would make up in the broader general government budget? Not going to say it's a lot, it certainly won't be too little either. It will be noticeable, the amount of money the government will receive from taxpayers in regards to digital assets and cryptocurrency. Whilst there is consultation, there are talks going on, it's still early days. October 2027, the month and year to look out for anything crypto related. It sounds like to me that the wave of cryptocurrencies and new legislation relating to cryptocurrencies is about to approach and arrive in the UK a lot sooner than what many people in the UK are anticipating, or if ever. Israel and Lebanon agreed to 10-day ceasefire, Trump says. On Thursday, President Donald Trump announced Israel and Lebanon agreed to a 10-day ceasefire beginning at 5 p.m. U.S. Eastern Standard Time, following calls with Lebanese President Joseph Aoun and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The truce follows U.S. convened talks in Washington on Tuesday, the first direct diplomatic engagement between the two nations in 34 years, aimed at pausing hostilities that began when Hezbollah launched missiles into Israel on March 2nd. Military operations continue in southern Lebanon, where evacuation orders now cover roughly 15% of the country, while Hezbollah remains silent regarding the announced ceasefire. President Trump directed Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio to work with both nations to achieve a lasting peace beyond the temporary 10-day pause. Compliance remains uncertain as it is unclear whether Hezbollah will adhere to the truce or if Israeli forces plan to withdraw from southern Lebanon, where operations remain concentrated. Now, I can't say I know much about what's going on between Israel and Lebanon. One thing's for sure is that Israel, as of right now, is technically, actually, literally, the center of attention. Whenever you hear a news story about wars going around the world, in the year 2026, there is no doubt that you will hear Israel be mentioned at one point, at any point, in any story that's related to war. I'm not going to say that this story is some kind of distraction. Things happen for a reason. The thing is, what if stories like that don't get taken as seriously as people want them to? Could things get worse? Surely people would say, yeah, of course things will get worse. People's lives are being lost because of these wars. And I agree with that. Whilst I'll never understand what's like living in a country that's torn by war, one thing I cannot deny is the number of lives that are lost each week, if not each day, in countries in the midst of a war with any military forces, whether it be between Israel and Lebanon, Russia and Ukraine, the civil war in Sudan, whatever's going on in Yemen, the authoritarian military operation in Myanmar, and dare I say, whatever constraints is going on within Cuba and Venezuela. Although Venezuela are not in too much of a rough situation, yet the US are still somewhat involved in like a transition and just discussing with the Venezuelan government like they would hope to do with the Cuban government. That's at least what I know. Such stories like that is certainly open to interpretation, even if there are information that is obvious. There will be other interpretations that goes on. So back to Israel and Lebanon. The only thing I could say is whatever the ceasefire is put in place, I hope all sides that are involved, they do adhere to it. They try to work things out, despite the differences between the two nations and the military forces in said nations, and that no more lives are being lost by these operations. And just before I end off with my thoughts on the story, I will say, rest in peace to the Lebanese and Israeli citizens, well, at least mostly the Lebanese citizens whose lives have been lost ever since the conflict between Lebanon and Israel started. Not sure how long ago it started, whatever that date is. I send my deepest condolences to the friends and family of the Lebanese and Israeli citizens who have lost their lives ever since military hostilities between Israel and Lebanon started. Yeah, it's quite unfortunate. Madonna announces new album, Confessions on a Dance Floor, Part 2. On Tuesday, Madonna announced her new album, Confessions Part 2, will be released July 3rd, 2026. The record serves as a sequel to the 2005 Grammy Award-winning album Confessions, reuniting with Warner Records to produce this project. The singer marks a return to the label that distributed her classic albums like 2008's Hard Candy. She stated the partnership allows her to continue provoking needed conversations, collaborating with producer Stuart Price, who worked on the original Confessions. Madonna is creating a 16-track album. She recently teased the project with a 1-minute, mostly instrumental preview of a new song. Although the standard edition features 16 songs, some limited vinyl LPs will contain only 12 tracks. Madonna revealed the cover art on Instagram, depicting the singer wearing sheer pink fabric while sitting on purple speakers, marking her first studio album in 7 years. The project aims to recapture the disco-infused magic of her beloved 2005 hit. Her original Confessions tour remains a historic success, grossing nearly $195 million. Alright then, so Madonna is coming back to the music industry to make new songs. I wonder how many Madonna fans are happy to hear this, and how many Madonna fans will turn up when she does release new music. I'd assume Madonna still has fans, even after many years of not releasing any music. She has left a mark in the music industry, especially in the 80s. That goes without that. There is no doubt that Madonna's peak was in the 80s. At least that's what I've heard on this app called Gen K, where I look up different facts about different subjects. They're not sponsoring me. I just like the app, and I find it quite useful in my opinion. So yeah. So back to Madonna, new album, Confessions Part 2. Not bad. Now, of course, given her absence for many years, there is going to be a lot of anticipation in regards to the songs that she will release, and the numbers, the figures, the metrics that Madonna will pull off in today's music era. Or at least in today's world. Will Madonna still pull off the same numbers like she did many decades ago? Maybe, maybe not, who knows. Nonetheless, she still has a loyal fan base that will certainly show up on the day of her releasing new music. Scientists measure a black hole jet power for the first time. Interesting. On Thursday, researcher Steve Prabhu reported the first ever measurement of instantaneous jet power and speed from Cygnus X1 using 18 years of high-resolution radio imaging data from a global telescope network. Cygnus X1, a binary system in the Cygnus constellation, features a black hole pulling gas from a blue supergiant star that feeds the black hole, giving it something to eat and launch as jets, Prabhu said. Jet power is equivalent to 10,000 suns, with speeds reaching roughly 355 million miles per hour, while these dancing jets carry approximately 10% of the energy released as matter falls towards the black hole. Previously, jet power estimates relied on averaging data over tens of thousands of years. This direct measurement technique, based on computer modeling and wind-driven jet bending, enables instantaneous observations. Prabhu plans to apply this technique to other black holes, building on work conducted at Curtin University, as better jet power data helps scientists understand how black holes shape galaxies through large-scale turbulence. And I'm looking at the picture of the said black hole, and yeah, that looks pretty mesmerizing. It kind of looks like the Grok AI logo. Yeah, I guess that makes sense somehow. The Grok logo looking like the black hole. So anyway, that's interesting. Never thought someone would take the time and effort to measure the strength of a black hole. Yeah, here we are, and I believe that will continue. There's going to be more research on not just how people measure black holes, also the strength of said black holes. How much force can a black hole make, drawing in cosmos, planets, stars, and other universal cosmic elements, whatever you call it these days. Now that is going to be interesting. Majority of Oxfordshire children offered a place at their first choice school. Wow, very cool. The majority of families in central beds have received good news, with 9 in 10 children offered a place at their first preference primary school. The announcement on National Primary Offer Day, April 16th, states 90% of children starting primary school in September have been offered their first choice of school. Families applying for other school stages have also seen very positive outcomes. 88% of children applying for a middle school place were offered their first preference, while 100% of those applying for a junior school place received their preferred school. Parents and carers who submitted their application by the national closing date of January 15th will receive confirmation of their offer by email from the school admissions team at Central Bedfordshire Council today, April 16th. Executive Member for Children and Families at Central Bedfordshire Council, Councillor Gareth Mackey, said, "I am really pleased that so many families have been offered a place at their preferred school. Starting school is a hugely important milestone for children and their parents, and we know how important it is to have confidence in the place your child will attend. These results reflect the hard work of our school admissions team and our continued planning with schools across Central Bedfordshire to ensure we can meet local demand and support children to get the best possible start to their education. Parents who are unable to accept their offer or who wish to find out more about waiting lists and the appeals process will find further information included in their offer email and on the council's website www.centralbedfordshire.gov.uk/info/5/school_admissions. I wonder how school admissions work in other local councils in the UK. I'm just curious. I don't hear much about this ever, in my opinion. I'd assume there are admission process for schools and of course colleges as well, let alone university. In regards to children in Bedfordshire, for them to go to the school they most prefer to go to, that's great. Good for those children to go to their school of their primary preference. Even if something like this does happen often in Bedfordshire or other local councils, or across schools in other local councils in the UK, it's still quite the achievement for those children to be given a place at the school they would most like to go to if they were given the chance to pick any school and immediately they can go to that school. So that's great for those children. I don't have anything else to say on that. Just happy for those children. Industrial chemical leaks could delay ozone recovery by 7 years. On Thursday, April 16th, 2026, a study published in Nature Communications found that industrial feedstock emissions are delaying stratospheric ozone recovery by about 7 years, pushing full restoration to 2073. The 1987 Montreal Protocol exempted chemical feedstocks based on industry assumptions that only 0.5% would escape into the atmosphere. Yet new measurements reveal actual leakage rates are closer to 3.6%. These feedstock chemicals act as powerful greenhouse gases, widely used to manufacture plastics and electric vehicle batteries. Emissions are projected to reach around 300 million metric tons of CO2 equivalent annually by mid-century. Lead author Stefan Hyman, an atmospheric scientist, stated, "We wanted to raise the warning flag that something is wrong here, urging industry to either swap out chemicals or reduce leakage during production." Member countries of the Montreal Protocol meet annually to address emerging issues, with future summits likely prioritizing strategies to reduce feedstock leaks and help the ozone layer reclaim its 1980 health status. Now, I'm not going to say that climate change is fake. It's a hoax. You're all being duped. As much as people are wanting to recover and heal the ozone layer, which is somewhere around Antarctica, last my check, I thought the ozone layer, now that it's fully healed completely, is at a state where any damages to the to Earth's atmosphere is no longer a concern, let alone a threat to our way of life. Again, not saying it's perfect, last I checked. I've heard reports a while ago, maybe a couple of years back, that whilst the ozone layer is on track to be healed, the state of the ozone layer is at a point that, not saying people can go cause more pollution and whatnot, the state of the ozone layer is at a state where everyday people and other scientists don't have to worry too much about how to tackle the opening of the ozone layer. They can still continue with whatever, and they can still be on track to recover whatever needs to be recovered. Then, on the other hand, of course, I will have to say this, even if people don't agree or are on board with it, and I'm not going to say that 2073 is a date of full restoration as a way of trying to just to manipulate the minds of other people to believe that we've got a long journey to go. It's going to be a long ride, but we got to keep on going. Of course, you need to have a long-term plan for anything and everything. What I will say is, even projects that do take decades to complete and achieve, the amount of decades, as mentioned here, about industrial chemical leaks delaying ozone recovery, I'm just wondering, in my opinion, what's going to happen when 2073 hits? Would the ozone layer be recovered, or will the ozone layer still be at the same state as it is today? Now, we can't be too sure what other aspects would happen until 2073 that would further delay the ozone layer recovery. What I'm saying is, by the time the year of whatever people are saying the full restoration would be complete for the ozone layer, will the ozone layer be fully recovered? Or will it still be at the same state as it is today? That is a question that's worth asking. It's not a food for thought. It is something to consider. If you're going to achieve targets by certain dates, I'm not saying I'm no expert on ozone recovery and atmospheric science. What I would say is, if there are certain targets and dates to achieve, I'd assume they're realistic. If not realistic, how would people achieve to make these targets, to achieve set dates and outcomes to be as realistic as possible? Toyota and Honda launched PMAC to lobby Canada on tariffs and EV policy. On Wednesday, Honda and Toyota launched the Pacific Manufacturing Association of Canada, PMAC, to represent their distinct manufacturing interests as Canada's two largest automotive producers. Together, these Japanese car makers produced more than 75% of all vehicles in Canada last year, employing more than 60% of assembly plants workers after the Detroit 3 scaled back operations. Brendan Sweeney, a former research leader at McMaster University and Western University, will serve as PMAC's inaugural president, with Honda Canada Inc. Chief Dave Jamieson as chair. PMAC will prioritize trade, tariff remissions, and CUSMA negotiations. Sweeney emphasized collaboration with the Trump administration is essential to making a competitive automotive industry. Beyond trade negotiations, the association will address electric vehicle policies and GHG emissions. Toyota Motor Manufacturing Canada President Tim Hollander said Canada's automotive manufacturing sector continues to play a vital role in the country's economic strength and future growth. Sounds like there is lots of work being done in Canada. And I know if Risk was on here right now, actually I'm not sure what Risk would think of Mark Carney, the current Canadian Prime Minister. I know Risk 11 doesn't like Mark Carney all that much. What I would say, independent to that, is, you know what, good for you, Canada. Regardless of what people think of Mark Carney and the current Canadian government, I am fascinated about how companies in Asia establish their own association within Canada to express what they want to achieve in terms of automotive manufacturing within Canada. I'll give praise for that. It is important. If you're wanting to bring industry into your country, there has to be a place or an organization for people that work in said associated companies and organizations to come together, say what they want to do whilst they do their business within said country, and then go ahead with said business within said country. Now, I can't say, nor would I know if there are other equivalent associations that do exist in other countries around the world. It is a start for Canada to provide as many jobs for local Canadians. And I would ask, and I would hope for same stuff to be done in other countries, especially in the UK, where I'm from. But of course, everyone knows that by now, given my accent. It's so obvious. So yeah, can't say it's the big achievements. It is, at least, it's a good start for the road that Canada is taking to ensure not just they provide opportunities for Canadians, local Canadians, also providing the products, the goods, and the services to local Canadians. Now, of course, there will come a point where any of the excess will be exported to other countries. Surely, I think Canada, I believe, from how things stand, would also somewhat benefit in terms of the exporting side of things. I think that's it for the episode.